All right. Hello, FloodGate family. We are back again for another edition of our conversation with the thought leaders in the space. And today, I'm happy to announce we've got Alison French, who for 18 years has been doing digital marketing. She was doing inbound marketing and getting lead generation before that was even a phrase. So really understands it well. And, we're brought on board to talk to us today because I got so many questions of people going, all right, how in the world do I continue to get leads? So that's why Alison's here. So Alison, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. I'd love to get to know you a little better.
Nice to see you guys. So I come from a background in health and wellness space. I've been working in brand marketing and product marketing, specializing in new brands and product launches for most of my career. And recently have made more of an effort to pivot to an organization called Emerge, which specializes in helping businesses do strategic lead generation. So there's a lot of tactics that we use in big brands where we have big budgets, big resources, enterprise software, and it works. And we all know it works. And so now we're trying to find a way to bring that to the masses and make it easier for sales-based organizations to find the right leads, because time is of the essence. No one has the time to chase down bad leads or have emails unanswered. And so we're working on creating tools that help sales teams do that.
Awesome. I look forward to learning a lot about what some of those tools are, because, traditional lead generation, it was changing already, but it got massively accelerated with the pandemic, right? You had your trade show calendar, you got leads from the trade shows, you did dinner functions, you got leads from those. Hey, I know I'd walk in, look at the surgical board, and that was my lead generation source, right? Now that no trade shows, access is limited, dinners, that's a tough one, right? Remote. So tell me, what is necessary? What has changed and what is necessary for people today who said, I still need to have a quota, I still need to make money. How do I get those new leads?
Absolutely. And I got my start in trade show marketing. So I feel for everyone right now. It used to be all about how high a quality of a brochure did you leave behind? How could you create that engagement, those relationships? How many business cards did you walk away with? And so now you have to find a way to do it. And we all have to find a way to do it. Has your business and your situation changed, but the people you're outreaching to are in a completely new environment. So as you mentioned, you can't walk into a hospital to sell anymore. So you have to think about how can you create connection and engagement at a one-to-one level? And what I'm seeing is a lot of big organizations have amazing marketing departments. They're doing account-based marketing. They have digital marketing teams. They have all the resources to support the brand and the company, but sometimes that doesn't translate directly to the sales team because the sales team is used to getting leads from the shows and the events, et cetera. And so how do you find that balance? And so I think there's a lot of opportunities for an individual salesperson where maybe you don't have the support of your organization, or you have their support, but you're still kind of waking up in the morning going, I don't know what to do today. There's a lot of options. I think Handwritten Notes, which is old school, most people don't believe it, but it still really works, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create connection and engagement. It's not about selling. It's about reminding people you're still there, because the longer you go, out of sight, out of mind, people start looking for alternate resources. So, and these are tactics, in my opinion, that work beautifully to support brand marketing. So you have your marketing team and what they're doing. What can you do as an individual salesperson? Handwritten notes. I know a lot of companies are working from home, but there still are some in office. And so simply throwing a note saying, hey, haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Looking forward to connecting when the time is right. Is just a subtle way. You can throw a stamp on it so it shows that it's not from a direct mail company. And all of a sudden, who doesn't get excited to get a real piece of mail? And it takes a couple minutes of your day. So it's old school, totally achievable. You can do it without your marketing department. You can Google the company address if you know your clients or your prospects are still there. So it's a really easy way to just stay front.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is. It's front of mind. It's previously people would go into these trade shows and events thinking I need to find a new X, Y, and Z. And so now they're mixing home and work and everything. And you just need to find a way that when they need you, they know who to call.
Yeah. That's why to augment that digital, that human touch. right? Bringing that humanity back to it in any form. I wouldn't have guessed on the digital marketing conversation that the handwritten note would be a suggestion that we come forward with. But I mean, I still do it on occasion, even though I have a penmanship of fifth grader. But
people are looking for that authenticity and credibility.
Yeah.
Another one for someone, because I completely recognize with people working from home, you might not have the addresses or exactly that. Like you might not want to be the one writing handwritten note, or I'm good for about 2 a day and then my handwriting falls off and it happen. 2 great things I've seen, and obviously different industries in healthcare have different rules and regulations, but sending someone an e-gift card from Starbucks, or sending them, there's a great cookie company we work with called Get Noms. I think it's getnoms.com, but they will actually send someone to a landing page and let them redeem a selection of cookies from you. All you're trying to do is speak to someone at that human level of like, who doesn't want a specialty coffee every so often? Or who doesn't want a box of cookies to share with their family as we're all sitting here at home? And so they're just little tactics that you can do where you're not even trying to sell. It's just like, hey, it's been a while. Things are crazy. Hope you're doing well. And you're really connecting at that human level. And what I love about all of this, anyone can do it. It doesn't require a huge marketing budget. It doesn't require the marketing team to get involved. An individual salesperson has the ability and the power within their daily activities to try some of these tactics to really stimulate some demand, or anything, just stay front of mind so they're not forgotten when the time comes.
That's great. And you talk about not needing and having accessibility to resources, but at Emerge, you're providing a lot of resources to companies, platforms to being able to do that. What are some of the basic resources ESA would just really accelerate their ability to get lead generation in this new world?
Absolutely. And it depends on how big an organization and how deep you want to go. So having a team that knows how to do digital marketing, or having a resource like what we're trying to do at Emerge. Emerge specializes in organizations that have a strong sales organization, but maybe not as big of marketing resources, where you might not have an enterprise platform, or you might not have the budget to go engage with a full service agency. That's where Emerge comes in. What we believe in is making proven tactics more accessible. And so you'll want to find that balance, because it's not just one tactic that's going to make the difference. It's not a single handwritten note, or it's not a single cookie drop that's going to make someone decide they're going to give you their next contract.
Right.
But consistent execution. And so that really becomes a resource situation. And I think that's what businesses are trying to figure out the most right now, is how do you shift resources when maybe you were a trade show event marketing department, but now you really need digital tactics. I think people are vetting enterprise softwares, and they're trying to figure out who can run these projects. And those are long commitments. It takes a little while to turn that shift. And so I think the sales leaders are the ones trying to figure out, okay, how can I support in the interim? Like, I know in the next 6 months we'll be fine, but what can I do now?
Right.
And that's really where tools like Emerge come into play, is helping basically take everything off your plate. And so we have the tools, we have the proven strategies to help businesses generate high quality leads. I think other things that organizations can do is really focus on the quality of the leads that they're going after. What we see a lot of is you can host a lot of webinars, you can host different events, you can do white papers and case studies, and they're all super valuable. But they do take a lot of effort for an organization to achieve. Mm-hmm. And you can't necessarily determine the quality of the people coming in. And so you start working these leads from someone who downloaded the case study, and you're calling and you're emailing and you're not getting a response, and you're just kind of like, I don't know what to do then. But what's nice is if you can leverage like account-based marketing software or other tools to put that lead in a funnel that does it for you. It has the paid media advertising on social media channels. It has the LinkedIn marketing. It has email marketing. And you're just reaching out to that contact on a frequent basis without being intrusive. That's where we're starting to see the tides changing organizations.
Yeah. I've heard that you give, you stay in front, and when that need happens, you've been the one that supported them with knowledge and information, and they go, well, that guy they seem to know what they're talking about there. Let me go ask them first, right? They had the answer last time when I wasn't even looking for it, right? So being consistent for that when they have that need comes out. And I think you're talking about being able to track some of their activities. So that one person that downloads the one thing one time,
yes,
might have done it by accident, or you caught them at a soft moment. They're really not a target, right?
Yeah. I call it the Thursday afternoon, 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're at your desk and you're like, God, I've lost my energy for the day. I'm going to go look for something new to like read or something like that. And so it's hard to tell how serious someone is. And so it's really looking at a measure of their activity to determine how hot that lead is. And I think it's finding the balance right now. It's helping organizations and sales teams get those resources and get that support because, if you look at, time and execution, those are usually the two hardest things. It's how much time in a day, and then how much can you actually execute during that time. Mm-hmm. And so what can you bring in-house or what can you outsource to help kind of increase bandwidth in a strategic way? Because I think we all have had the idea, like this idea is going to fill my pipeline and it's gonna make everything awesome. And then it gets kicked to IT and then legal has to review and XYZ happens and you're 6 months in and it still hasn't happened and everyone's lost their momentum on this like idea that's going to change the business. And so I think it's more about how can you prepare your team on little bite-sized chunks that can actually be executed now, or how can you find some resources that help you do that?
Yeah, and start instead of not needing the whole plan, but I can do this. Next week I can do this and do those little things.
Bite-sized.
Yeah, what's interesting I noticed about this is you get started. It doesn't, it's a slow flywheel, right? Yeah. And you don't even see it half the time. I've experienced it. You don't even see the flywheel moving for a while. So for those on the listening in or thinking about it, what's the expectation? What do you think from when you're starting this, reach out, this brand, in one-to-one branding? How long should it take before they're seeing that the impact of their efforts where they start getting really those quality leads, those SQLs?
Absolutely. And so I look at it as you take your normal sales cycle and then you have to decide, are you starting with cold prospects who have no idea who you are, or what you do? You're going to want to pad it by a few months on top of that. Or if you are going for more just brand awareness, so you want to be front of mind, it's going to take a lot longer. But if you can pivot and go for a very actionable offer where someone knows immediately the value, and I am not a fan of discounting or changing your pricing strategy for anything, but I do think there's ways that you can provide a value add that causes people to take action. And it really comes down to that problem solution. Like, how are you going to solve a problem in their day-to-day life? And I think in most businesses right now, our problems from 6 months ago, or let's call it a year ago, are very different than the problems we're experiencing now. And so if you can show that you have a solution to the problem now, you're going to increase or you're going to decrease the cycle time it's going to take to get someone to close. But I do think it's a reasonable expectation is 6 to 12 months. If you're the cold prospect who has no brand awareness, no knowledge of who you are and what you do, and then you really have to spend that time. And it's not just, hey, buy from me. It's relevancy, credibility, thought leadership, and you're trying to bit by bit give them a little bit more of your story. Because if you come out shouting from the rooftops your entire pitch, they're not going to listen. But if you give them that little nugget and they're like, oh, today, okay, cool. Wow, you won that award. That's amazing. And then a week later, it's, hey, I have this case study that I think is really relevant. Or it could even be a tactic of, hey, I just saw you launched a new project. Congratulations. Like, you just have to find ways to move it along bit by bit rather than trying to do this whole, I'm just going to do everything all at once and hope somebody pays attention to me. That's the way to get it. And that is why it takes that 6 to 12 months, is because you're going on a step-by-step basis rather than just a shotgun.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's that classic, a lot of times spilling the candy in the lobby when you don't go selling before you just throw it all down and go, you got to love it. And
exactly.
I mean, a confused mind says no. And in a digital world, it's really easy to say no. You just delete, you don't even look at it, right?
You have, 2 seconds. If people interpret an image better than they interpret words. So how can you use that to your advantage? How frequently can you update creative? Because I think we've all been in those situations where you're seeing the same ad from the same company month after month after month, and you're like, just please go away.
Right.
So how do you mix it up? How do you add variety? And that's just a bandwidth issue. I think any marketer or sales leader understands what needs to be done. It really just comes down to the resources to execute.
Excellent. So as we've seen all of these changes come through, what are some of the absolute key things? If someone's remembering a couple things of like, hey, today the world's a little different. Yep. I've got to now market and get my leads this way now. What are the couple of those key changes, key takeaways?
Absolutely. Recognize like the channel you're reaching out to someone. So for example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a networking tool.
Mhm.
And treat it that way. Like, reach out to people, network, let them know what you're doing, but recognize it's not necessarily a sales platform. So reach out, try to connect with as many people that you can, or even more powerful, go back and look at your first connections, people that you already have an existing relationship, and use it as a tool and say, hey, do you want to do a virtual 15-minute catch up? What are you up to? How are you doing? And if you come into those meetings more prepared, you're going to stimulate demand within that person's network, which is a really great way to do it. But I think where people go wrong is if we try to sell on LinkedIn too strongly, that's just not the right vehicle for that. And then the same thing with emails. You have to keep in mind, and you just alluded to this, but people are busy. They've got a lot going on. So you shoot off one email, it might not get read. That might be a yes, that might not be a no. It just could be they got it while they're sitting in their car at a stoplight and just didn't have time to take action. And so it's really trying to complement any of these tactics with other tactics to make sure you're getting someone at the right time, the right place, and the right channel that works for them.
Right. Yeah. It is amazing on emails. I mean, I think about, well, I sent them an email. I don't know why we got, nothing's happened. And now we have the data in 20% open rates and 2% click rates is awesome.
Yeah.
It just tells you how often that frequency, gets missed, right?
And that's really where I have seen in my career, little things like handwritten notes, coffees, cookies, etc.
Little disruptives.
Yes. You're treating a person as an individual. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all humans who are looking for connection in this time. And if you can find ways to stand out, they might not buy from you this week, but they at least opened your email and they recognized your name and they saw your signature and it didn't get archived, and all of that adds value. I call it it's the compounding value of marketing. We think of compounding interest with our investments. Well, that's really what these tactics are, is compounding impact of your marketing efforts.
Yeah. I had an email last week from someone that was, needing some help and had questions, and the email I responded to was from July 2019.
Yeah.
Right. So you never know how long that takes to mature,
Couldn't agree more.
So that's great. That's great. Guys, if there's been a lot of great topics. I forgot to mention this top. If you want to have any questions, you want to post, just post it right into this feed. We're going to see it and be able to answer some of these questions as we kind of go through. So I want to open this up to some questions from really the FloodGate family. They might, have. I see someone's giving me a hard time. Must have watched last week and seen our post or scrolled up because they're wondering, do I actually have pants on? I mean, short, not short. I actually do have full length pants today. So not as fun. No flip flops either. So not as fun today. I don't know. Maybe, we've broken that habit. So that's good. One good question. Let's see, what other questions do we have in here? Here's a question. Someone from a sales department looks like they have, the marketing department isn't really available to support the sales team for these lead generation focus, right? They're doing branding, they're doing upstream, they're doing KOLs, they got a lot of other things. Exactly. What is something that, either as a sales leader or it looks like it's individual sales leader can be doing to help their team in this digital lead generation and gain better access in the near term?
Absolutely. And it's really going to start by the quality of prospects that you're trying to put into the funnel. And so I would encourage that, depending on how you can realign your budgets and what your situation is, either having someone sit within the sales organization that can really help focus on sales-based marketing tactics rather than brand marketing tactics, I think will be key. Not everyone is in this situation right now that they're looking to add headcount, though. There are external providers. That's why Emerge is here. We're here to help support sales teams with sales-based marketing tactics. There's other organizations out there. There's other tools. I would say the most important part is not getting caught up with the entire project and more focused on what can I do today, tomorrow, this week, because I feel strongly that in this light of COVID, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of businesses. And the faster you can pivot, the faster you can dive into new strategies, the faster you can reallocate those budgets to do new digital tactics that are driving leads for your team, you're going to come up top, because not all corporations are able to shift. Not all corporations are empowering their sales team to shift their budgets and move into different directions. So the faster you can pivot, the better off you're going to be long-term, because the current pandemic is not going away like we might thought of 3 months or 6 months. It's going to change the way we do business for future years. So if you can pivot now and you can get ahead of it, you just created a greater opportunity within your own market.
And it was already a sea change happening, you know, this just accelerated it, you know? So it was not, this isn't a new thing. This is a element happening. One suggestion I'd add on to that that's really simple is you can do a quick brainstorm of what are the questions we're getting from the customers that are talking to us, our current customer base. What are the problems they're having right now? All right, what's the solutions we've given them? Boom, right? List those out.
Absolutely.
Keep giving that out to the rest of your targets because they probably having that same problem. And so if you're coming into them, they're like, hey, we understand that scheduling now is difficult. Here is how this is, you know, someone else has overcome them, or whatever that solution is. Even if it's not a product you can sell them, and more likely it's a product you can sell them, you're just giving them a tip. Next time you reach back out, you'll have that credibility, that confidence, right?
And I think we get caught up a little bit, and it has to be perfect. It has to be produced by a graphic designer, and the marketing needs to put their videographer on it. Grab your cell phone, shoot a video, post it to YouTube, and say, hey, these are some challenges. Here's some solutions. Do LinkedIn Live or throw a video on LinkedIn. Use your brand's Facebook page to put a video on. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect to help make an impact.
Yeah.
And I think if we strive for perfection, it takes a long time in marketing to get there. And right now, people need action.
And you lose authenticity sometimes.
100%.
Right? You overthink it, and all of a sudden, you're just a robot, and you're not the real person that they want to buy from. Right?
And it's a human element. I think that's why in-person sales in the medical community has been so powerful for so many years, is because it's about the relationships, and it's about who you are, and that you're Joe, and people want to do business with Joe.
Right.
It's one-to-one. And I think that's where, if you can just grab your camera and go for it, I think you'll be happy with the results. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities with podcasts out there that you can reach out to. They're always looking for people to get on. It's a great way to kind of build your exposure, but it's also a great way to reach out to your contacts and say, like, hey, I did this podcast. You should check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. It's just all easy ways. You put the work on the podcaster to edit it and produce it, and you can just send out the link. It just takes your time to be on the interview. There's a lot of ways you can get your name and credibility and message in front of your clients in unique ways that doesn't necessarily require, an RFP process with an agency or an extensive campaign with your marketing team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good deal. Well, guys, I appreciate everyone taking the time, jumping on here. Alison, thank you so much for giving this incredible amount of knowledge and our experience. Emerge has helped a lot of people and generate those leads. And it's a new way to do it. And we will pivot, we will change. And when the old school comes back and you combine that with the new school, we're only going to be better, right?
Oh my gosh. We talked about that the other day. We're like, imagine these tactics to fill your appointments at a trade show, versus just waiting for people to walk into the booth. It's like, well, how much of the team do we send? What do we need from a sales support? Who's working the booth? It's like, well, let's use these tactics to fill your entire day, so we know that we're getting every dollar out of that investment in trade shows.
Absolutely.
Events are coming back, but you're 100% correct. We're going to be that much better prepared, and the companies that pivot now will be set up for success.
Yep. And you'll know, hey, these two targets are interacting with our stuff all the time. So we're going to track them down or make sure that their sales reps, are at the show, right? Because there's some interest. They're on our content a lot, right? Exactly. So absolutely. Good stuff. Hey, appreciate it, Alison. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, FloodGate family. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.